welcome to episode 4 of Japa Diaries. On Japa Diaries, we document the experiences of African immigrants in the diaspora. And on this week's episode, we talk about feminism, womanism,
bridging the gap, beauty standards, all of that. Quick trigger warning, there is mention of sexual harassment. But other than that, it was an amazing episode.
It was fantabulous. Make sure to follow us on Instagram and TikTok at japa.diaries. Enjoy, guys.
Bye. Hi guys, welcome to episode 4 of Japa Diaries, a podcast documenting the experiences of African immigrants in the diaspora. Today, I wanted to talk about something that we kind of talked about a little bit in episode 1. We talked about how just moving to the US, moving to a different place kind of forces you to think differently. Like you have to open your mind to different ways of thinking and what wasn't like the norm for you before.
Yeah.
And one of those things that I think really changed for me once I moved to the US was like my perception of feminism. Word. Do you remember the first time you heard that word?
I think it must have been in Nigeria. It must have been Chimamanda related. I didn't really understand what the word was at the time, but I knew it was controversial. For whatever reason, I knew it was controversial.
Yeah, I don't even know why. Like, I think the perception. So mine was also in Nigeria, definitely the first time, and I think it was definitely around that whole. We teach girls to shrink themselves, to make themselves smaller. It was definitely Chimamanda.
Beyonce was the first time you heard.
Okay. That was like level 12. Okay, I was a baby girl. It was Chimamanda related. Of course, like I think, that was the first time the word really stood out to me because I think I definitely heard it from Chimamanda before. And it is so weird, but like in Nigeria, like Chimamanda is like a polarizing topic for some people because they're like, oh, she's too feminist. And her brand of feminism is like, hey guys, let's just treat women equally. Let's not expect them to do, you know what I mean? Like it's not free the nipple type of
it's
feminism.
Not outrageous. So it's not even outrageous.
It's not even outrageous feminism. It's just basic feminism. But like that should just give you context of the kind of society.
Wait, so would you say like feminism has a spectrum?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
But of course before I fully understood what feminism was, I think for me it was just black or white. Like either titties out or you're not. And that was the type of feminism. I even remember like when I just moved to the US, I remember somebody asking me like, oh, like do you identify as feminist? And I remember just being like, I don't know. Like
that's a good question. Yeah, I was going to ask like, when's the first time you self-identified as, you know what, I'm actually a feminist?
I don't know. I actually don't know. I don't know the specific time, but I think it definitely came with understanding what it was more and like it not just being about how you dress. It was very core things. But here's one thing I will say. I think I was always feminist before I understood what feminism was, right? Because I was always that person. Can't you remember? Like I remember in primary school, I played the drums. I was the only girl playing drums. I was taking drum lessons like with some guys. I was the only girl because I had this very big reason of trying to prove that like women can do the same thing that men can do, like girls can do the same thing that guys can do. I remember my like maybe 6th, 7th birthday cake was like the the blue Power Ranger from Ninja Force.
Wait, but wasn't that a babe though?
Yeah, but still, it was a Power Ranger cake, okay? Like, pay attention to what is happening.
Wow, not me remembering though.
Yeah. But like, I would do things like that to kind of just show that like the whole like female roles and all those things aren't very like, set in stone. Like women can do whatever, like most things that men can do also. But yeah,
I will say you give off that energy, like was, if Malik is doing like, I didn't know if it came from I can just do everything Malik is doing because siblings slightly compete, there's healthy competition and stuff like that, or was it case of no, if he's a guy and he can do this too, I should be able to do this too. I know.
I think I would say it's a bit of both.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Because also recall we grew up. All of our cousins are guys, minus like 2 or 3, right? So I always grew up around guys, and they would always like the parents and everybody would always remind me I'm the only girl. Like I remember like. You guys will be taking off your shirts like when you're in the house, and they're like, "Hey,
you can't do that one with them.
That's not for you, right?" But like, I grew up in that situation, so I think it was also like one competing with my cousins and my sibling, but also like I can do this too. This ain't a problem. What you mean I can't do this? But girls, please don't be taking off your shirts like that, okay? I was a baby girl. I didn't know what's happening. Anyways, you're a guy. This is a POV. It is yes, it is very much expected of women to like be feminists, right? But obviously we've shown that there's a lag for me as a Nigerian woman, like identified as being feminist.
Okay.
As a Nigerian man, explain to me how you perceive feminism and how that perception has changed over the years, because I'm praying to God that it has changed over the years.
First of all, as a man, I think I'm the best person to discuss this topic. And let me explain to you what feminism is. I'll tell you now.
As the expert,
jot things down.
Yeah.
So like I said, I think the first time I was aware of feminism, again, was in Nigeria. Didn't make too much sense of it. I think it was actually when I came to the US, I started really having those conversations, and understanding the quality and equity of it. And from the get-go, I did have resistance for sure. Like I was like, okay, what's going on? Like, what is it that exactly, women want? Like, how are you not equal now? Do you understand? Like, I fully felt like, that like, everything is fine. Like, what do we need change for? But I think in hindsight, I was definitely lying to myself, because I always felt like there was an imbalance growing up in Nigeria. Like, when people have those boys versus girls, or do you have a boy first or a girl first or stuff like that? I could tell that society was favoring men.
Okay, so you were just in denial. It wasn't that you weren't aware. You just tried to like ignore it a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit of ignoring and just not engaging with the thought, because we favor men. It's not the best thing. I don't think it's great, but does it mean women are suffering as a consequence of us uplifting men? So, which again is not, sound reasoning, but but I was like, okay, then I started, engaging the conversation, and I started seeing how the patriarchy, like, deeply affects, 50% of the population. And I think it's more in your face too in the US or diaspora more than it is back home, because, the patriarchy is also somewhat part of the culture. So there are not a lot of women or men engaging in those conversations as much back home for us to like question ideals and culture.
Because I'm pretty sure the patriarchy is very much present in the West. In fact, we probably bought it from them. And
they taught us rubbish now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So okay, but that makes sense if you're saying that the conversations are more open and present in the West as compared to like our home. And interestingly enough, that's one of the reasons why I was like, I don't know if I want to move back to Nigeria, because I knew that the kind of person I am, the kind of things I want to do, I'm very much like a get this thing done. Like I want to push like boundaries and envelopes, not even necessarily like a defiant way, but in like a why isn't somebody doing this yet type of way. And I know that if I was ever in Nigeria, my life is already harder because I'm a woman. Apparently, women renting apartments is a whole thing in Nigeria. As in, are you guys running a brothel? You can't go to lunch, or you can't go to the club with your girlies. Too many girlies. They'll be thinking that everybody here is a shehu. If you're going into a meeting or you're meeting people, you'll be like, let me call one of my guy friends. Exactly. So there were all these things that I was just like, man, okay, life is already hard enough being a woman, being black, being all these things. Like, why would I now go to Nigeria where I know that it's very obviously going to impede it more? Now, more than likely, Nigeria has evolved since I left, obviously. You don't think so?
I
Let me tell
mean,
you.
the world is, evolving.
The world is evolving, yeah.
So the patriarchy 10 years ago is not what it is today. So
but the patriarchy is still patriarchy.
Yeah, but it will still be applicable in Nigeria too. Like, the patriarchy of what it was in 10 years ago in Nigeria is not the same as it is now. But, that's not to say that we don't have mountains to still move.
Yeah. One of the things that kind of, I guess, opened my brain as I was also like opening up to like feminism and all that it is like also understanding beauty standards and how those are messed up by patriarchy, right? Let me give you a concrete like example. All right. So when I was in Nigeria, the natural hair movement had started, right? Everybody was like, oh, cutting their hair, tiny mini fro, all that good stuff. And I was there like, I don't have a bad relationship with my hair. My hair is fine. There's nothing wrong with my hair. It's just easier. Everything is just much easier with relaxed hair. I come to the US. All the black girls in my school, I kid you not, all of them are natural, right? And I'm like, man, all right, maybe I should try this natural thing out. And up until this point, I was in denial of like, oh my God, the reason why Americans are so into like the natural hair movement is because they've been, yes, and they haven't been, they don't connect to the soil. But yeah, and then also, white people have the standard of beauty for them for so long and they just want to connect. Like me, I don't care. I don't have any relationship like that. Like it's totally fine. But then I got to
and that's premium whitewashing because you truly believe that. You would truly believe that.
My brain believed the narrative. Like I was like, oh, of course,
like, come on,
this is an American problem.
Yeah, excuse me.
This is not for me. I don't have that relationship. So my hair started growing fast, and every time I'll do relaxer, after 1 month, it's like new growth. I was like, okay, I think maybe I should start exploring this natural hair thing. So I, started transitioning. I went to Nigeria and I did my big chop. Guy, as they were chopping the hair, I wanted to ask him.
Control Z.
You've been put that back for my head. I beg. Wait.
Just kidding.
Exactly. And bro, and that was even like December, guy. So we were moving, but I was wearing a wig, all that stuff. But still, man, I was stressed. Like my entire internal being, I couldn't believe what I looked like. Like that was my first time seeing my natural hair in over 10 years. Like I didn't know what to do with it. I didn't like, you understand? And so as I'm going through this, I'm realizing that this beauty standard thing too, it carried and reached us in night. Because why are we
testing yourself differently?
1, 2, why are we the bleaching center of the world? Like, why do you understand what I'm saying? Like,
statistically, are we?
Guy, we're up there. I'm pretty sure we're up there.
Wow.
Yeah, also in India. Yeah. Like, it's not going well for us, right?
Yep.
But, like, perceiving those, like, beauty standards and, like, how, like, we, too, have also aspired to, like, white, forms of European beauty and all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
And so I think what's interesting about being in that in-between space where you're not fully in American culture is that you can analyze it from the outside, right?
Yeah.
But also it allows you to sort of analyze the culture of your home country as well, because you're no longer fully immersed in that society, right?
Yeah.
And so as I'm in this middle space having my mental breakdown, I'm realizing
that's a interesting vantage point.
Yeah. There's so much, like, my perspective of the world has changed so much by just being in that middle space, because like you start to realize, 1, how different people are, but also how similar we are on just like very base level things. And more
give us an example.
So of like a base level thing.
Yeah, that was similar.
Okay, here's a good one. I think when I was learning about Black culture. So my approach to learn about Black culture became a thing of like, well, in the US, I'm Black. I might as well know what I'm being proxied to, right? Like, what is this identity I'm being proxied to? And just watching how when you take away this person is Black American, they're not like me, like all those, like, you know, all those things on paper, right? Of like who they are and what their identity is. It's just a girl in college trying to get her degree. Like you, a girl in college trying to get her degree. You know what I mean? Like, it's just a girl trying to, you know, make the best out of her situation. She's moved however many miles away from home to like make things happen. You too have also moved a couple more miles away from home.
Yeah.
Like, so you just you begin to,
you
like,
left your hometown. You left your hometown to come to this states that you've probably never been to either. To pursue an education.
Yeah, and those type of things are like just shared experiences. But here's one shared experience that I was not prepared to have.
Sure.
It's really messed up. So we know the reputation of Nigerian lecturers, right?
Yes.
And I don't even think it's just Nigerian. Let me say that that's not just Nigerian.
But it's okay. You can put them on blast. It's okay. You can put them on blast. They are,
all right. So the Nigerian lecturer. All right. There have been stories, movies, everything written about them. But essentially, there was a BBC documentary. Do you remember what it was called?
Yeah.
Grades for something. Sex for grades.
Yeah.
Sex for grades.
Could have done better. But go on.
Do you understand? I actually just thought about that right now. I was like, yeah, could have been spicier. But anyways, the whole thing is like, Nigerian lecturers will make sexual advances or like sexually harass students, specifically female students. So they will fail them if they don't, you know, take on their sexual advances, or they will literally do sex in exchange for grades. Like, I know people who have repeated classes because they weren't giving the professor the, you know, the reciprocal attention that he was looking for, that kind of thing. See me thinking, oh, okay, I'm not Nigerian. That's not going to be a problem for me anymore, you know. America has structure. Their system has structure. Like, things will go that way. Shooketh I was. It was my sophomore year. I was taking a class. And this professor had a reputation. Usually how it goes, professor has a reputation. They're telling me, don't.
So everyone's already.
Everybody's
so that means you're extra. That means you're extra sleazy.
I was, yeah, exactly. I was very like, they just told me he has a reputation, you know, something about women with scarves. I was like, what the hell? Like, this is such a weird, specific.
You know, just for context, this man's race is
white. This is a
Caucasian.
white man.
Continue.
It's a white man. Yes. An old white man. A tenured old white man professor. So I kind of, you know, avoid him. I don't really take class with him, whatever. I had a class with him, but I never really like interacted with him one-on-one, right? Because I wasn't trying to like point myself out. I think he might have had a thing for Black women too, also. So let's add a layer of another problem. And one day something happens during the week, and I just have a lot of exams in 1 week. So I want to ask him if he can move my exam to different dates. Because I tried to ask the other professor, and that guy told me, I beg, take your L. I was like, dang, okay. But I go with a friend. I go with a guy friend to go and ask him, because again, he has a reputation. See me again now, still also having to do all these things of like taking a man with me.
You have done the same thing, yeah.
I would have done the exact same thing in Niger, right? So I took a guy with me. So I asked him, can I move my exam? He says, oh yeah, you know, sure. Like, I'm not moving it because you brought X, Y, and Z with you. I did it because you were shaking your fanny. I said, huh? My fanny?
Does he know what that means?
Exactly. Two things I learned that. One, I learned that in America, fanny means your butt.
You could have fully prosecuted this man for that.
Exactly, right? I've learned that in America, they use it to refer to your butt and not your other area, right? But two, This was in front of a classroom, guys. This wasn't in
Oh,
his
he
office.
said it in front.
He said it in front of a classroom. Now the class didn't hear.
So there are
like,
witnesses.
So okay, wait. So the only witness really is the person I came with, because the class is over. Everybody's leaving, and he's still in front of the class, wrapping up his lecture, like packing up his stuff. That's when we went to go see him. So he said it, and I was just like, eh? Like my whole body froze. I went into shock mode, like the whole kind of thing. And I couldn't believe it. And I remember telling somebody about this, and by midday, maybe 5 other people had come to me like, oh my God, is that true? Right? And instead of being spreading. Like, it started spreading. And instead of me being like, can you imagine that nonsense? This is something that happens for a lot of women. When somebody does that to you, you're so much shock. You, for whatever reason, take on the shame. You take on the shame, like, oh my God, I shouldn't have done this. I shouldn't have done that.
Yeah, because that's what the patriarchy teach too. Like, what is your fault? What are you wearing?
Exactly.
Where did you go? All that good stuff.
Exactly. And so all that thing is, it's just all of these things are coming to me, and then I finally have a moment where I'm like, no, I didn't say that word. He said that word. He said that word with the witness. Like, he's the one in the wrong here. So finally I have class with him a few days later, and I go up to him and I'm like, this is the time I want to take the exam.